Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gantos.
Well, it's a new year. It's 2018, and you thought things would change. No, it's still the same. Rod's out on the freeway somewhere. He's racing to get here. In the meantime, this is your trusty sidekick and radio announcer, Paul Roberts, welcoming you to the third season of The Raad Life. And we're here to kick it off. We thought we'd do something much broader today here. Now, we get so narrow. We go down the rabbit hole and we talk about these niche topics. We've had people in here, Casey Kasem's daughter, talking about elder abuse and all she went through trying to fight to get access to her late famous father in the final years as his current wife fought with the old wife, and everybody was hiding the body and nobody could find where Casey Kasem is. We've had all sorts of very niche topics like that. Today we're going to do something much broader. We've got an umbrella organization here, the Neurological Support Group, which is part of, I'll let them explain better, but I think it's part of the Community Civic Association of Laguna Woods Village. And they're here to talk about how they help provide brain health and wellness under the umbrella. All these organizations that fall into it: MS, epilepsy, dementia, Tourette's syndrome. Well, we've never had anybody talk about that one. I don't know if we can on the air. They start swearing inexcusably. Parkinson's, my mother suffered from Alzheimer's, all the others. All that and more they're here to talk about. And while I've been vamping, the man himself made it in here. Rod Gantos is slipping and sliding his way in here. So let's go around the table. Slipping and sliding. I don't even need the headset on. So I thought things would change, but it's 2018. It's the same old stuff.
Hey, I'm consistent.
So while Rod's getting mic'd up, let's go around the room. Start with, is it Lisa in the back here? What was Lisa? Let's start with Lisa. Let's get her mic up here. That would help too.
Okay.
Let's get Lisa to introduce herself and the organization and her co-conspirator today here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here on OC Talk Radio. Hi, Rad. Nice
Hi, Lisa.
to meet you. My name is Lisa Calavita, and I'm a part of the CCA, and we've created a brain health and wellness.
What is the
Yeah,
CCA?
we don't use acronyms around here.
So,
CCA.
Community Civic Association was started a long time ago by a dear friend, Denny Welsh, in Laguna Woods Village. And it was created to serve the community, both by providing educational seminars, informational gatherings, support groups, things like that. So,
Because obviously Laguna Woods here in Orange County, for those outside, is where most of the retirement people live. It was the retirement part of Orange County for a long time when it was Leisure World. Now it's Laguna Woods Village, right?
So
That's right.
Rebranded, basically, right?
That's right. Laguna Woods Village is a really large senior population there. So we had, Denny and myself had decided we had something in common, which was we both shared a love for community, and we also shared a love to support the those that have neurological disorders, which is really brain disorders.
Right.
But you don't look like you're one of the retired senior citizens in that community here. For those looking
No,
on YouTube.
but you do.
Well, that's why I'm not on camera.
Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. No, I'm hoping not to, and I think the reason that Denny and I connected was because we both shared many families that have many of these disorders. And that's where Dr. Trin came in.
So tell your story just real quickly, because we were chatting offline. My mother had Parkinson's, which ruined the end of her life. And really, it didn't kill her, but she got so weak that she died of anything because of years and years of Parkinson's. You said your mother had the same thing.
Yes. My uncle died of complications from MS, my mother from Parkinson's, my dear friend from epilepsy, and the list goes on. And, of course, many of my clients with Memorial Home Health have Alzheimer's.
So not to put you on the spot, Lisa, in this way, but we keep talking about this not being something that is a seniors or an elderly only issue, right?
Affects everybody,
Right.
one way or another.
I remember a gentleman by the name of Ryan that actually set up something called Inside Elder Care, because he experienced a situation like that. He was a later child, and he experienced a situation like that with his mother, and he was quite young. And that information wasn't around, and we were talking about like maybe 8 or 10 years ago, right? So he took his technology background, basically started putting, I think he was basically venting or getting therapeutic, you know, kind of support by putting stuff out on the internet and people finding it. But he was so frustrated that there was no layman information. It was very medical, it was very clinical, but there was no layman information. So that to your point about the need for this sort of informational educational component.
Exactly.
So putting you on the spot is, how old were you roughly? I'm not gonna.
That's okay.
Hey, the first
How
show
old
of the year,
were you gonna ask
already
women how
asking a
old?
woman
Go
how
right
old
in
she is,
there.
right? I'm like, you know what? This is the kind of show it's going to be in 2018. No holds barred. Right? But
You're going to get bonked in the brain here today.
you know what? You're old school. You don't get to ask. I ask. Okay. I have an equal opportunity asking. Okay. But what I want to make the point is, like, how old were you when you encountered this? When at that point you had already had, through your family experience, encountered this.
What stage of your life did this come to? Yes,
experience.
Well, personally, I myself have had a neurological conditions, and it started in my teens. And there was a huge stigma around it, so it was kept on the down low. We weren't talk about it, and it was genetic, and it is epilepsy. So that's something, and both Denny and I had that. Now Denny was in her late 70s, so that's just what brought us together. And then we sat and talked about, gee, have you ever been a part of a community support group? And she said, well, none that's based on epilepsy. And I said, what about Parkinson's or MS or Alzheimer's? And each one of these support groups is so valuable to the community because it's there that you can go and share your personal struggles.
Right.
You think you're getting everything you need at the doctor. You get your prescription, but you cannot possibly get all the support that you need as far as information, education, and...
Well, the way our medical system is, right, and you guys weigh in on this, is it's not really geared towards taking your time and providing the support. It's an in-out, you know, 5 minutes, low cost, maximum impact.
That's right.
You know, and it's a system that's overloaded. I mean, to be fair, it's overloaded, overwhelmed, underfunded. Yes, I understand the prices are ridiculous, but given the population that it needs to support, we struggle with that all the time. I think every institution basically struggles with that. So to find a support system that actually would give you the ability to go through the process yourself, and everybody is different, right?
Yes.
And getting that support, being open to receiving it, all of those components that factor in, but also to be very specific to your condition.
Yes.
Because you guys just listed 3 or 4 things that are, in their own sense, yes, they may be neurological, but they're very different.
They are.
So if you're sitting in a room full of people that have Parkinson's, but that's not what you're there for, there's not really the support group maybe that you need to be in. Unfortunately, because there aren't, at some point, there weren't the nuances, differences in terms of support.
Right.
You kind of went to, you need to find the support where you could find it, whatever you could find it, whether it was a perfect fit or not.
And this neurological support group of which she's here representing, under the umbrella that they handed, the leaflet they handed me, I count over a dozen different support groups, including some, I don't even know what TBI is or Lewy body is.
Well, I'll leave that for Dr. But that's traumatic brain injury and Lewy body. So exactly what you were saying is that we found that there was these individual, finally in the last couple of years, there have been these individual niche groups that they call them. So you could find a Parkinson's group. There's 27 support groups in Orange County for Parkinson's.
Right.
But
some of the bigger name,
diseases,
or diseases get a lot more
Alzheimer's,
exposure,
Parkinson's,
but Lewy body. I mean, a few years ago it was like, what's that?
I never heard of it.
And it was really funny because you were hearing the what is that at places where you would think that information would be known, but it was not really common or even spoken about.
And at the Parkinson's groups that I've gone to, I'll have several people come and say, hey, do you know what Lewy body is?
Yeah.
And that's where they're getting this information. They're learning a lot from, well, I do know, and I have it, and here's what I do. Well, what medication works for you? What works for you? And that's where there's this exchange, and what side effects do you have? So it's...
So let's bring in your partner here,
yes,
too.
Yes, that's really important. Brain health...
Introduce...
Can I introduce?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm so proud to introduce Dr. Trin. He is been such a delight. He is our star of our show. He does all of our
He's
speaking.
the star of the show today? He doesn't know the Rod's the star of the show today.
No. spotlight is
is
on
the Raad
guest,
Life.
not on the host.
So, Dr. Trin is the medical director for Irvine Clinical Research, and he's going to talk a little bit about that because clinical research is very important.
Yeah.
Huge.
As well as he's going to talk about, he is on Alzheimer's Orange County Board, and he is a co-founder of our neurological support group, Brain Health and Wellness, and talks a lot about brain health.
So let's do
So
this.
let's introduce him.
Let's
Welcome.
do this. Welcome,
Welcome.
Dr. Tran. Let's do this. Okay, let's give people the websites so they can kind of follow and look at while we're having this conversation. So what websites do we want people to be looking at?
Number one is Healthy Brain Club.
HealthyBrainClub.com. Never
Yes,
heard of it.
.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Now we'll get there. All right. And then what about the
Irvine
Irvine
Clinical.
Clinical?
Irvine Clinical.
We got to get him to speak
Is
up.
it Irvine Clinical Research?
He's
what
too
is the
modest. We
website?
got to get him to speak up.
IrvineClinical.com, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I can get you that.
Yeah, we'll double check that for everybody. But
Yeah.
please go ahead and check these things because and if you have questions from either what we're talking about or the I mean I know I'm wasting my breath because every time I say if you have questions call us, nobody calls, right?
Right.
But we
They
do
really don't,
But
no.
we are also feeding live. I don't know if Paul has mentioned this,
Yeah.
but we also have okay, so it's irvineclinical.com. Dr. Chen was correct.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
pass.
I
But
remembered.
if anybody is listening to us on octalkradio.net, you also can watch us if you want to, right? We promise we're all dressed, we're all decent, right? On OC Talk Radio's Facebook.
And I'm the old
page.
guy. I'm off camera.
Yeah, he's
so you
off
know.
camera because he's not allowed on camera, right? Maybe we'll
Yeah.
change the policy this year. I don't know. If he breaks down and actually forks over money for 3 cameras, then he can be on camera.
I don't want to be.
Right now we're on like a string operation. here.
That's right.
But you can also watch us, and you can write in, and Paul does a great job monitoring all this stuff. You can
Yes.
either tweet to us, or you can write a message on the live feed on Facebook, on the OC Talk Radio Facebook page. It's also feeding live on OC Talk Radio's YouTube station.
And
or
Periscope.
channel.
We're trying Periscope.
Oh, and
today.
he's trying
Periscope.
Periscope. So who knows what the
No
heck he's doing up there.
excuse.
But,
you
okay,
can't
so
find us.
how do people get hold of us on Twitter, Paul?
OC Talk Radio, hashtag OC
Hashtag
Talk
OC Talk Radio, and then again, you're monitoring Facebook
Yep.
at all? Okay, so if you have any questions, I know we ask people to call, nobody calls, but all of you guys are on
They'll
Facebook,
tweet,
and you're like,
yeah.
oh, well, you know
We
what?
hope to
Well,
change
well,
that.
this makes me think about this, and I'm typing that in, and so forth and so on. So whatever
People
it is,
will
just
tweet
reach out.
today. They won't pick up the phone
Look,
and call.
this is a great opportunity for you guys to get firsthand feedback from these experts, right? Relevant to something that you're facing or something you're confused about or whatever. So don't miss out on this opportunity because, yes, we have the podcast later, but this is an opportunity for you to actually get the answers right here.
and
now.
if they do want to call,
And people are dealing with this on a daily basis.
we
so.
will take phone calls at 949-330-7761. 949-330-7761. Operators standing by.
So go ahead and prove Paul correct and right
No
by
one's gonna
giving you the
call.
number and prove me wrong by the fact that you'll never call. Okay, by calling us. All right. At that number again?
949-330-7761. It is weird. We know people are watching right now on Facebook. We can see the live feeds going, and it's Twitter and streaming everything. To get people to pick up the phone today is almost impossible. They'll tweet like crazy and text and stuff. but so will
2018 resolution, New Year's resolution. Everybody who's
Call
listening,
somebody.
okay?
Call.
We've been on the air for 3 years. Okay, we've gotten maybe 3 calls. Right? so let's break that record today. Right? Let's go for 4 for this year. Okay, but clinical trials are very important. And we're going to talk about that. And I was fascinated. We had some people over last year that we were talking about clinical trials. We're talking specifically, I think it was about Alzheimer's, and the fact that there were clinical trials available and that they were actually having a hard time filling those trials. And it was
Very hard to
fascinating to
find
me, like
people.
given the nature of Alzheimer's and how I mean, like you can't go a day without something hitting either my mail, or news or something regarding aging or Alzheimer's or dementia or some form of neurological, disease that's happening. And yet these guys were telling me that it's not for the lack of trying, but they can't fill these trials. And so it blew my mind. I mean, what?
That's interesting. Yeah, we have quite a bit of folks at our door.
Okay, that's great. I mean,
interested.
it's great to hear. It's because it was like
Can
this,
I give
it was
you an
almost disappointing.
observation, though? And
Yeah.
Lisa and I were talking about this before. One of the things my mother, as we've talked about on the show, this is my personal therapy. I get to talk about, vent about my late mom and late dad. and
Okay,
all the
go.
things we went
You
through.
have
Here we
30
go.
seconds.
All right.
Okay.
One of the things that made it very difficult for all of us and for her was I'll just call it shame, embarrassment. That's really what it was. She didn't want to acknowledge it, admit it, or be seen with it, to the point where she wouldn't see her own family the final 10 years of her life. No, I don't want anybody seeing me like this. I don't want, we couldn't go anywhere, couldn't talk about it, couldn't deal with it. My mother's deteriorating, and she was so embarrassed. I'm going to get choked up thinking of it. She was so embarrassed about it. I can imagine there are many people, you say, why don't they want to come forward? I don't want to think I got Alzheimer's. I don't want to admit I got Parkinson's. I don't want to deal with all this.
So let's start. Let's start there. Okay, let's start there, because you're saying people are knocking on your doors.
Let me tell you what's going on with Alzheimer's in Orange County. I've taken care of patients for about 17 years through Memorial Care, and prior to that, Bristol Park. And most of my patients are seniors from Laguna Woods. And what we see is that by the time a patient comes to me to complain about memory loss, by the time a patient gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's, they are typically in the moderate stage of this disease.
It's not an early diagnosis. Right.
And at the moderate stage, there are less options for treatment. There's less options to discuss about prevention and things of that sort. So what happens is we miss the entire mild stage of Alzheimer's. And the mild stage can last from 2 years to 10 years.
And why is that, doctor? Is it that we are not, sort of similar to other stuff like that early diagnosis for cancer, for example, right? Or awareness, enhanced awareness of the fact that there may be a genetic or a family history or something. Is it one of those cases where we're just not aware of what to look for? Is it that it's one of those diseases where you just, like Paul was saying, it's a shame thing, I don't want to admit?
Denial.
So between 2 to 10 years, when these symptoms are mild, when you have mild memory loss, what do we blame it on?
Getting older.
Exactly. We blame it on just getting older. We're like, of course I'm forgetful. I'm getting older.
That's like it's normal.
Like it's normal. We think it's normal when in reality it is not normal.
We do a bad joke on the air here, and I'll share it again, and probably inappropriate, but I always say I don't have Alzheimer's. I just have sometimers. It's just me losing it sometimes here. And we've had Jim McAleer in here numerous times, from head of the Alzheimer's Foundation here. Great organization.
Yes.
Great work you guys do. And if I remember the statistic correctly, this was a while ago, something like, because of our prolonged longevity, we're going to live longer than we ever have. Like 80% of people are going to exhibit some high number of people are going to.
In Orange County currently, Alzheimer's is the 3rd leading cause of death.
Wow.
Number 1 is heart attacks. Number 2 is cancer. Number 3 is Alzheimer's. And we are missing it.
And what percentage of us in our life, assuming we live a full life, 80s and 90s and maybe even beyond, are going to experience some sort of memory loss, Alzheimer's, symptoms of
starting at the
dementia?
age of 65? If you take every...
You said the right number. Thank you.
If you, because you're younger.
I'm younger.
Awesome.
It's not too late for you.
By the way, you look 40.
So this guy can come back.
Yeah, Like but
speaking of denial,
starting at the age of 65, every 5 to 10 years after that, the risk doubles for Alzheimer's.
And what percentage of people will, over the course of their lifetime, develop some sort of dementia?
I think he was right. I think it was like 75 to 80%.
Some huge number.
Right.
If you're in your 80s, probably about, I would say 40% are exhibiting some symptoms suggestive of it, of dementia and things of that sort.
And you get into your 90s?
And the thing is, there are people who live in other countries who are as old as Americans without this disease.
Really? This isn't just, it doesn't go hand in hand with old age.
It doesn't go hand in hand.
Let's repeat what you said, doctor. Yeah. It is not normal.
It is not normal. You take folks, let's say in Japan, folks in India, they live to their 80s, their 90s, and Alzheimer's is not on their list of diagnosis, on the top 3 or 4.
Different diets, different...
Exactly. And this is actually what I do. I'm kind of like a public speaker, I guess. I go in the community, and this is where I connect medicine to the layman.
Absolutely.
And I think we're starting a Dr. Iggy show.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Jim McAleer said something I never forgot, because Alzheimer's and Parkinson's tend to run in my family. He said that there's no proof of this, but there are some diets that may affect it. And one of the things that stuck in my mind was cinnamon. That cinnamon actually may be something. So I've been taking cinnamon like crazy.
It's like every bit of information, right? There's so much information out there that some of it is probably has been debunked. Some of it is not. I think there's such a desperation. Right?
Yes.
That the minute you hear the word Alzheimer's, to your point, it's like shame, whatever. But the minute you hear the word Alzheimer's, the minute you hear Parkinson's, right? It's almost like a death sentence. Oh. It's like, oh my God,
epilepsy.
Right?
She's talking about epilepsy.
Nobody's getting out alive.
Right.
We're all going to get hit by it. Epilepsy, it's just right. And you're hearing from doctor here, Trent, that it's not normal. B, you can diagnose it earlier than we are.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that requires a certain engagement, right? I mean, you got to kind of be part of the process.
And maybe we can prevent some of this from ever occurring.
And there are things that you can do that are dietary. I mean, I don't necessarily believe it 100%, but there was a book going around about a year or so ago called Brain Grain. Right.
Permuter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it spoke about plaque buildup, and it talked about impact on brain by certain food dietary habits and so have you. And yes, there are certain countries that may they may have high blood pressure.
We know for a
but
fact.
they're not exhibiting the symptoms of Alzheimer's.
We have clinical research that shows a certain type of diet will delay or reduce the risk of Alzheimer's.
What kind of diet would that be?
And I'll tell you right now.
It's not Big Macs, I'll bet.
It's and we know there are certain types of diets that increase your risk for Alzheimer's. It's the increase for the risk of Alzheimer's. It's called the American diet.
Yeah, right.
It is a pro-inflammatory diet that is, and there's 5 things listed that we know is not good for the brain.
Keep going.
Yeah,
keep
let's
going.
Number 1, red meat. Right.
So this is a new year. You guys, everybody listening has New Year's resolutions.
I grew up in the Midwest.
Put this
Doc.
on your
Come
list. Okay,
red meat is...
yeah, Midwest is over. Man,
Red
you've
meat to
been
the
on the
base,
West Coast for
baby,
so
you know?
long.
That's right.
You've been on the West Coast for so long, and especially the way you vote, they won't let you back in the Midwest.
That's
okay,
true.
so
That's
Well,
true.
if they call in, we can give them a magnet that's going to give you. You can put it on your refrigerator with
Right.
all this information. So
Really?
when you open your refrigerator,
yes.
you'll
It's staring in the face.
See, this is how hard we're trying to get you guys to call.
So-
You call, we'll give you a magnet.
We'll give
with
you
all
a
this
magnet.
information.
Yeah. So go
All
ahead.
right. So let me give you the 5 things
Please.
that are pro-inflammatory, not good for the brain.
Red meat.
Number 1, red meat. Number 2, butter, margarine.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Number 3,
Okay.
and this is painful, cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
All kinds?
All kinds.
Okay.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
My wife and I love to go out to dinner. Years ago, I owned a bar and a restaurant, and I wrote a restaurant column for the Riverside Press Enterprise. I'm really into food, and I'm always offended by the American cuisine, even fine dining, where they think, whatever it is, I'll make it better by putting cheese or butter on it. And it's like, no, that doesn't. Why does cheese or butter? We're constantly ordering.
So how many times do you order your food without cheese and butter?
All the time, because my wife has developed an allergy, a very
So you just
serious
get an extra
allergy.
side of meat.
Yeah, and we have to go through.
But no cheese.
We'll look at the item, whatever it is fancy restaurant, and I'll have to start saying, does that have cheese or butter? And the first answer is, I don't know. And then they go back, and quite often they come and say, oh, yeah, when we mixed it, we did. That has cheese and butter.
But
in it.
it's interesting, okay? Because go
We
ahead.
do
and
it all the
finish
time,
Finish
yeah.
the list. Doctor.
Sure,
So
sure.
you got red meat, you got butter and margarine, you got cheese.
Number 4, sugar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Pastries,
The killer
sweets,
thing is
And
poison.
sugar's in
Diabetes.
everything.
Big one.
Look at any
Sugar-
box that you buy.
Yeah,
Sugar,
sugar's toxic for your brain.
sugar, salt.
And what's
Yes.
number 5?
Number 5, processed foods such as fried foods or fast foods. The American diet.
The American diet.
It explains why Alzheimer's is the 3rd leading cause of death in Orange County. You want to hear what's good for their diet now?
Yes.
Brain
definitely.
health? Okay.
Ready.
Okay. You can go and Google.
Hopefully it's Irish beer.
Yeah. close,
I'm
close.
A little wine is good for you, right? A little wine is good for
Red
you,
wine.
actually, right?
Red wine.
Red
Red
wine is
wine.
good for you, yeah.
Right. You can go to, actually, if you're on Facebook,
So you can drown your sorrows for not eating meat by drinking red wine. There you go.
I have a lot of information published on Facebook.
Where?
On Facebook, just Google Healthy Brain Club.
Okay.
Healthy Brain Club.
Healthy Brain Club. Yeah.
Healthy Brain Club.
That's it.
On Facebook.
Facebook.
That's right. Or you can do healthybrainclub.com.
Right.
That'll take you to a website. But
Okay.
Healthy Brain Club on Facebook, click like on there. And I post on there on a regular basis any update regarding brain health, especially Alzheimer's prevention, new clinical studies, things of that sort. But on there,
so no to red meat. And again, I'm repeating it because people are just ignoring me right now.
Oh, yeah.
Red meat, butter and margarine, cheese, processed foods, and sugar. And I left it at the end on purpose because that thing is a friggin' killer.
I love sugar.
Sugar is a killer.
I love sugar.
Right. Sweet tooth, no sweet tooth.
Oh.
That's a killer.
It is.
So that's a no-no, guys. So what is okay for brain food?
All right. Brain food. It is called the MIND diet. MIND diet. The MIND diet is a
That's just a fancy name for bland, tasteless stuff here.
It is a combination of the Mediterranean diet, which we heard about, and the DASH diet, which is kind of like a heart health diet.
Okay.
And so it's a diet that is basically the bedrock of that diet is plant-based. Veggies, fruits, nuts, berries, stuff that grows out of the ground with that.
Can I share something with you?
Come on, I'm holding it up. Look at, I got some nuts.
I eat those nuts from Costco. I love it.
I'm trying to nosh more and more on this stuff, not on chips. I do have some chips in here, but not that kind of stuff.
Right.
Almonds,
Why is there a double mac with cheese underneath?
No.
Okay, let me share something with you. I actually did a goal-oriented business goal setting session with a gentleman by name. I'm going to give a shout out to Chuck Bauer, who's a business consultant out of Texas. He born and raised in Tustin, and then he made the foolish decision. I'm kidding, Chuck. To move to Texas because California is where it's at, Chuck. You need to be back. And he actually said, maybe I'll be back more often now. But he actually, it's interesting. He is a business coach, but and the session had everything, honestly, from hydration to Bikram yoga to him basically doing a dancer pose in a tie and a shirt, right? I mean, it was a bizarre, and it was like the day after Christmas or the 27th. It was 2 days after Christmas, so it was this surrealness in the holidays, like you're actually seeing a guy in a tie basically doing a dancer's pose. But I'm not even going to try it right now. But he did say something that really resonated with me because he said he changes his dietary habit. He changed, he does Bikram about 3 times a week. Right. He hydrates. We ordered him, and I give a shout out to a client of mine, Juice It Up. Frank Easterbrook and the crew out there, it's a company in Orange County. They actually reached out and got 2 green drinks specifically custom with what he wanted in them for him for lunch. While we were all basically eating rice and Mexican food, right? Nice. That had been catered in. He's having these 2 green drinks and a lot of water all day long, and energy level, all this stuff. But he said something and I don't know that a lot of people heard it, but I was like, I couldn't avoid the reality of what he said, which is. It says, what is the toughest, strongest animal in the animal kingdom?
Tick tock, tick.
Lion?
Cockroach?
Cockroach.
A gorilla.
A gorilla, okay.
A gorilla eats what?
Oh, leaves.
Veggies.
Celery and plant material.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Giant gorilla.
So, okay, I understand what you just said to me. And I cannot argue that, and yet I cannot see myself seeing a gorilla eating a Big Mac or a piece of meat. It's a herbivore, and he's basically eating celery. He's eating plant material, and that's the strongest, leanest animal in the animal kingdom. Okay, and granted, it's not the ocean. Don't call me and start telling me, no, well, it's not a great white or whatever, please. Okay, you know what I'm saying, right? And he's not eating meat. So what you're talking about, people go, oh, it's like Paul, oh, come on, I'm from the Midwest, human beings are not supposed to, I'm not a rabbit, I'm not going to basically graze.
Carnivores.
In the Midwest, we have the cattle graze, we don't graze, right?
But what's in that green, now here's the thing is, and Dr. Tran can elaborate on this, but what's in those leaves? What's in the green leaves?
Right.
Anti-inflammatory, right?
Anti-inflammatory properties, antioxidants.
Right.
Stuff to take away
because
other
of the
probiotics, healthy eating, healthy intestines.
Because the inflammation of the blood vessels, is that what we're talking about?
The inflammation when we think of inflammation, we think of maybe having an infection, a fever, things of that sort. And inflammation is a natural part of a body's response to foreign invasion.
Tries to flush it out.
Tries to flush it out. But inflammation, when it is chronic, long-term, turns in on itself, and it damages the body, and the brain. It doesn't stop at the neck, right? And
So it doesn't just hurt your heart or your liver or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Inflammation is so. For example, inflammation of the skin. Inflammation of the skin is basically dermatitis, rosacea, things of that sort. Inflammation of the lungs is allergic asthma. Right? Inflammation of the gut is inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
We've had people talk about all those Crohn's disease and others come in here.
That's right.
Well,
what is inflammation?
Do you have good bacteria? Do you have bad bacteria?
It's all connected.
Is your system really running lean? And it's like putting bad gasoline in your car. It's like putting diesel in a car that's supposed to be
Clogs the pipes, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's simple. I do a lot of spa work, right, and do spas and wellness centers and stuff like that. Hydration, just hydration on its own, right?
Yes.
Just hydration. The quality of your skin. It's like all the money that is spent on skin products. Okay.
Yeah.
Buy more water.
And night
Drink more
creams
water.
and all this
more
stuff.
water.
Just
Drink
drink
more water.
friggin' more water.
Yeah.
Right? Cleanse your system. Have your organs actually function correctly because they are clear. You can tell your energy level is better, your processing is better, your mental capabilities are better. You're not lethargic.
And can I give
that's
you
just water. We don't even drink enough water.
Can I give you a shout out and a
very true.
testimonial here? So I grew up in the Midwest.
And I mean, I'm not even talking about alkaline water and stuff. I'm just drink friggin'
Just
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grew up in the Midwest. Red meat and potatoes. I'm Irish. I grew up in the Midwest. Double whammy. That's all we ever had. And when I came to California,
It's a surprise you're walking around.
It is. And when I came to California, the woman I end up with is a vegetarian. She does all the cooking in the house. So
Karmic justice.
I'm
my
not a
friend.
vegetarian, but when your cook is, it's kind of like the same thing because that's all I eat was whatever she cooks. And so a couple of years ago, my buddies.
That's just lazy.
A couple of years ago, my buddies back from the Midwest were razzing me, and we were someplace, and they said, "You got to get a steak. Come on." I said, "Yeah, you're right. I'm a man. I'm going to have a steak, you know." And I hadn't had a steak in probably 10 years.
Serious?
Seriously. And so we all bunch of buddies, and we're getting around. We're drinking scotch. We have a big steak. Tasted fantastic until the next morning. I don't want to be too graphic, but it was like trying to give birth to a baby. I could not pass that thing through my system here. And that was what my
On
wife
that note,
always,
this part of the show is brought to you by
Yeah.
Kirkland Purified Water.
Purified water.
and my wife laughed, and she said, "I've been telling you for
Cleanse your
years,
system.
your body is not really meant to break this stuff down and absorb it. As much as we have canine teeth and all this stuff here, we're not really designed to break this stuff down and eat it." And I said, "Boy, living testimony to that."
And boy, do we are not designed to do that. But it's like you don't just ask your system to do it once.
Oh,
Okay, you're doing it 3 times a week in some cases, maybe even more. It's like
Daily, yeah.
Fish. What's that?
Right.
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 White meat. What's that?
Vegetables. So we mostly are vegetarian.
So I want to go. I want to go
diet.
back. Not because I have an ethnic bias to this, but I want to go back to the Mediterranean diet. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that it's not all vegetable.
It's not all
There's
vegetable.
there's chicken.
There
There's
is meat.
fish.
There's fish.
There's
Fish,
lamb,
Fish.
which you could
That's
argue
right.
is greasy and fatty, right? So when you say Mediterranean diet,
It is not a vegetarian diet.
so what about the Mediterranean diet is the positive? Because I also know that
Rod grew up eating Lebanese food and Palestinian food.
There's
and all this other stuff, yeah.
there is fattiness, for example, in the lebna, which is dried yogurt.
There's
right?
good fat.
Right.
There's bad fat.
So this is
there's
where I'm
good
going
fat.
to, Doctor.
That's
Let's
right.
talk about that. Break it down a little bit.
We need fat. We need fat. So when we
Thank
talk
God.
about fat,
So to cut fat out of your diet completely is actually not healthy. You
not
need
at
good
all.
you need good fat
There
in
is
your
good
diet.
fats.
Yeah.
Avocados give you good fat. Fish gives you good
Exactly.
fat, right?
I've heard that,
Omega-3
Omega-3
fatty
fatty acids.
Good for the brain. Strong antioxidants.
Olive oil?
Olive
Love
oil.
fish, right?
Good fat.
Good olive oil.
Yes. Virgin
olive oil. Yeah.
with that.
It means what? They've strained it?
Did my accent come out? Why are you looking at
No,
me?
but virgin olive. I really don't know what virgin olive oil is. Does that just mean they've strained it, or they've done something?
It's a bunch of nuns in a
Basically,
right,
it
making
looks
us-
virgin. Is,
that
so-
Nobody's
stomp
touched it.
on the
Yeah.
grapes like Lucy did.
We
for
don't
the-
know. Okay, right. We
Right.
don't know. But there is
So-
good
See
olive
how I
oil.
mix cultures there?
There's good olive oil. There is, but yeah, it's not a vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
Obviously, studies have shown that vegetarians live on average about 7 years longer than non-vegetarians.
Really? Okay.
But you know, this diet includes fish. This diet includes poultry.
Right.
And my wife is a vegetarian, but she will eat fish, whatever that is.
Right. So she's a pescatarian.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a
I
fish
think
eater.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll eat fish and all
Not
that.
a pescatarian.
Not a pest.
Pescatarian.
I didn't say
Now,
that, dear.
Since we're talking about brain health and wellness now, some of these things, these are considered superfoods, where there are certain superfoods that we discuss that, and it benefits the general public, but in particular, people that have neurologic disorders, brain-related disorders, they benefit tremendously.
Which even more reason why you should be diagnosed early, know your family history, right? Because
And
then
do these
you
foods
can actually
benefit-
adjust your diet to help you prolong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do these
And when
foods?
I was doing, when there's a diagnosis, many times when you go to the doctor, they give you your medication, they give you treatments, but the thing they don't talk about is nutrition and things of that nature. So
Well, no, because if you were healthy, you wouldn't come back. It's not a really
We
good.
try not
It's
to
not a
think that
really
way,
good
though.
referral or repeat
Well,
business model there,
no,
Lisa.
that's true. But, well, truly, they take this Hippocratic oath, and I really believe in Orange County.
Hypocritical?
Don't get me started on that one.
we have some great doctors. I really tell you.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
I have doctors in my
Sure.
family, so I'm not picking on doctors,
Let
but
me
had-
tell you, with my condition in particular,
Oh,
they
okay.
said to me, "Hey, 15 years later, they said, oh, here's some information on the ketogenic diet. You may want to look at that." Well, this changed my life. This was because carbs are sugars and they irritate the brain, and this irritates the electrical activity. So this was something that
so why
I
did it take
learned.
15 years for them to tell you that?
That's a good question. But
Was-
I'm a
was
lot.
it-
I'm a lot. I got diagnosed very young, and that's because I knew my genetic history.
Right.
And so some.
But
of
can I ask
people
the
with
doctor a
Parkinson's-
question?
Sure.
I got to get this in there. When you went to medical school, obviously.
Before he forgets.
how many
tried.
how many courses did you take in nutrition to become a doctor?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I
I hear
actually-
doctors say one or
Yeah,
none.
maybe one.
Yeah.
Maybe one. And it's a sad revelation.
Right. So
Right.
she's saying that they don't tell you a dietary
Well,
alternative.
your point is that it's not a holistic approach.
They're not
right?
trained
It's-
to
it's
be
more about-
dietitians.
We are trained to treat disease.
To treat disease.
Right.
We are not trained
Exactly.
to promote wellness
Or
Exactly.
prevent disease.
or
Exactly.
prevent disease.
Bingo.
And,
Bingo.
and this is why we need to be in the community to let the community know that you can decrease your risk for Alzheimer's.
So it's part is
through
pa-
lifestyle
is
changes.
part of it that I mean I hate to put it bluntly, but there's no money in it.
Well,
I say there's
that's-
no training in it. I'll
I
be less-
disagree that there's no money in it because I think it's like everything else. I think you could argue that if there was no money in health, then there wouldn't be gyms. Right?
That's right.
And it's not everybody that just gets a membership and never uses it. There are people that go, and there is money in it. So it's just a matter of changing our mindset as a society and maybe a business model or
Yes.
medical model that there is money in it. You just got to basically get your head out of the fact that you're prescribing stuff that is out of a bottle or a container and basically prescribing menu items and grocery lists.
that is evolving.
Right.
Uh,
Welcome to
Our-
California.
yeah,
This is
our-
another thing that I'm very proud about this state.
our payment system used to be, and still in the majority of the country, a system based on fee for service.
Right.
You get paid when you see the doctor. Doctor doesn't pay. You don't see the doctor. Doctor
don't
doesn't
pay.
get paid.
Right.
Right. We are evolving. We are now promoting health through through a lot of changes. Just because we have to through Medicare changes. Just because mainly because we have to save money
Right.
with that because Medicare is going broke.
Yeah,
Right.
you got 10,000
So-
10,000 people turning the age of 65 every day.
Right.
You got over 72 million people or 78 million people that are basically baby boomers. And then you got this little bridge generation that I am a part of that's called Xers. And then you got the incoming millennials. And everybody's going to go through the same cycle.
Same cycle.
Right? And how are you going to fund a model
right.
that's based on spending money in order to treat disease?
That's right.
The whole system's going to collapse.
And when I was in college, I was taught that in Eastern medicine, you pay the doctor to keep you from getting sick. If you get sick,
Oh,
he's
you mean those
failed.
countries that are actually poorer than us?
and are having
Yes.
and
That
not
have a
having-
different model that
Right.
seems to work.
Exactly.
Boggles the mind, doesn't
Whereas
it?
we're paying you to pay for only when I need you.
That's correct. That's correct. But that again is evolving.
Right.
We are now paying physicians for doing preventive care.
Yeah.
The quality of their
Checkups
preventive
and-
care.
yeah, right.
For example, the number of colonoscopies, the number of mammograms of your patients,
Yeah.
pap smears, vaccinations. So we're promoting now, and that's a great thing. I'm proud of that. Part of this way our system is broken is that the average doctor in primary care has 7 minutes to see their patients.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
That's the problem.
and I
I
really
see it
feel,
all the
and I
time.
really feel for those doctors because it doesn't matter what you went through in education wise. I think your heart's in the right place when you pursue a medical profession, regardless of what area of specialization. And to basically feel that you have only 7 minutes to basically give to that person that is seeking you out.
Who was the guy that came in here that now is promoting this new model, particularly for seniors, where we'll come to you, and therefore we'll spend more time with you? Home health.
Home health.
Yep.
Memorial care. Home health.
Home visitations.
Well, and the model is changing because there's a cost factor, like the doctor was saying.
Right.
You know, you try to house all this stuff in a facility, real estate price, cost of equipment, all of this stuff. Excuse me, the bureaucratic system of multi-layers of people,
reporting,
all of this stuff that has grown and grown and grown from the days of when somebody actually came to your house and basically did a house visit. Right? Now we've almost come a little bit full circle. We're out of necessity, we have to have a hybrid system.
Right.
It cannot all be this one model of you go to a hospital or to a medical center and everything is
Deborah's trying to write messages, but they keep falling.
Definitely a transition time. And there's a huge emphasis, I think, on readmission prevention.
Yes.
Fall prevention, like we had just talked about.
Fall prevention, huge.
There's, and brain health and wellness, which is why we have these community groups gatherings. And the one thing I want to say before you guys will find this, I think a lot of people should know that we're going to be starting a Dr. Iggy show. Now, Dr. Trin also goes by Iggy, and he can tell you why.
Iggy.
So we're starting a Dr. Iggy show in Laguna Woods, and we'll have
awesome.
it once a week. It will be on Channel 6 in Laguna Woods, and then we will have it a meeting quarterly where people can come to one of the large clubhouses and meet and talk and have Q&A. And
why don't you turn it into a podcast?
We're excited.
You can come over here and turn it into a podcast.
It'll
Another way to reach people,
It should be very exciting because it's going to be about promoting brain health and general wellness and being proactive instead of reactive, which is a big change.
We got someone to ask you a question here, tweeted in, said, you were talking about all these foods, and I think I'm getting this right. Do these foods help all these 12 or 14 neurological disorders, migraines, Lewy body, dementia, Parkinson's? As a general rule of thumb, do they all help the brain?
And how do they help them?
Okay. Studies, clinical research have shown that if we took a group of patients and put them through this MIND diet, this Mediterranean type diet, and we compared them with a group of patients who was not on the diet, and we followed both groups of patients for a number of years, and at the end of those number of years, we looked and see how many patients developed Alzheimer's from both groups.
Or Parkinson's, or epilepsy. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Is epilepsy just a genetic one? Is that something you develop? Or?
So I can speak specifically for Alzheimer's because the studies have been on that. But the group that was on this diet, this Mediterranean type diet, had, at least in one study, a 53% less likelihood of developing
That's huge.
Alzheimer's.
That's huge. That's not 5%.
That's huge.
53.
When you
Yes,
look at the
in one study.
population of people that are suffering from that, that is unbelievable. Like just by changing your diet over time
And adding exercise.
and adding exercise, which
There are 6 things you can do for Alzheimer's
Specifically,
prevention,
right.
specific to improve brain health. 6 things. Number 1, exercise. Half an hour a day of getting your heart going. Cardio with that. Okay. If you
Walking. Just walking.
Yeah.
Lisa's
like
demonstrating it on Facebook for
There
us.
you go. and if you can't do half an hour a day because your knee hurt, your back hurt, split it up 15 minutes twice a day. Okay, that gets the heart going, that gets blood to the brain, improves circulation, right? Anything that improves circulation to your brain. Exercise. Number 2, brain exercise.
Yeah, right.
Brain exercise.
Brain puzzles, brain games,
That's
mind
right.
games. Right.
Mind games, crossword puzzles, Sudoku, or just reading, right? Studies have shown that.
Rad plays lots of mind games. I just want to
Really?
tell you this, right?
Okay, yeah. I know, I'm getting a little confused.
Only with you. Because you're special.
But the studies have shown that those who have a higher education have a lower risk of Alzheimer's than those who have a lower education. That has something to do with that brain stimulation, right?
Okay.
And again,
Stimulate your body, stimulate your brain.
Let me just challenge that for a second.
Right.
Okay. Because people say, well, yeah, you know what? I'm always on social media. I'm always engaged with people. I'm always impact. I'm on the information superhighway. That is not the kind of engagement we're talking about.
Social media
That's
is
junk food.
Right? It's not. It's not about consumption of information.
It's like watching
It's
TV
hyperstimulation.
and calling it, engagement.
But what you're talking about, and I think maybe not to sound elitist from the academic side, what you're talking about is deductive reasoning. You're talking about
Making your brain
analytical,
Making your
whether
brain
it's
work.
following a
Your brain work.
story or
Yeah.
multiple.
Don't turn your brain
multiple
off. Make it
personalities.
work. Yeah.
Right.
Make it work.
Right.
Make it work. The brain at any age can continue to make new connections.
And you're never
Oh,
too
that's
old
awesome.
to start
you're
any of this stuff,
never
right? Because
too
that's
old.
the other thing you're going to hear. Oh, I hear from you can't change somebody. They're
Never
they're
too old.
60. You're never too old to do
But
that.
we're almost
whether
out
it's
of-
exercise or food.
But
or
we're
whatever.
almost out of time. We got 5 minutes left
That's right.
to get through them all.
So that's number 2. Number 3, socialization. Studies have shown.
Again, in person, not
So
social
in
media.
person, going out, having meals, going to
It's
clubs.
amazing that we have to actually qualify that. Right?
Yeah, coming here and talking on the radio.
Yeah.
Socialization.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that those who
it.
socialize.
Great. Now we're going to have to go get a bigger space because everybody's going to show
Raise
up.
one.
Exactly.
There's 3. We got 3 more
Right.
to go.
Okay. So
Trying to
those,
push you.
So those who socialize have a lower risk of Alzheimer's than those who are at home alone. Number 4, sleep. Sleep is really important.
Huge.
Yeah.
How many hours?
At least 6. At least 6.
Better 7 even.
Better
right?
7,
But at least
but
6.
not 15.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah, you got to be socializing and eating and all that stuff. So not 15 hours of sleep.
there's so Alzheimer's is associated with a plaque that builds up in our brain. It's called the amyloid plaque. So amyloid is produced in our brain at an excess more than it should be. So when we sleep, amyloid is being removed
Really?
actively. That's right.
That's awesome.
That's
Your
right.
brain's being vacuumed.
That's right. Vacuum when you sleep. That's why you need sleep.
I didn't
Okay,
know
that's
that.
number 4. Right? Number 5, getting your other medical conditions under control.
Yeah.
Because there are multiple medical conditions
Right.
associated with Alzheimer's. If I took 10 patients with Alzheimer's, of those 10, 8 will have high blood pressure.
Oh.
If I took 10 patients with Alzheimer's, 4 will have diabetes. 2 or 3 will have heart disease. A whole bunch will have high cholesterol. All these other associated conditions that
Well,
leads to
what,
Alzheimer's.
Dr.
Making it all
and
worse.
it's a vicious circle, right? Because if
is.
you're eating healthier and you're hydrating
Right.
and you're sleeping the 7 hours
And exercising.
Okay.
And socializing.
but then you're not dealing with high blood pressure. You're
That's
not
right.
dealing with high cholesterol.
You're short-circuiting
You
all
know,
the other
your
stuff.
body
right.
your body weight ratio is not such that it's stopping you from exercising. You're getting it. It's all interconnected.
Everything is
and
connected.
it doesn't. There's
Exactly.
no one spot to start. You just got to start somewhere.
Everything is connected
Right.
with
Yes.
that. And the
We
last
only got 3 minutes left to connect. Go ahead.
That's right. And lastly is diet. Probably the biggest factor because we are what we eat with that. And I know time's short.
Yes.
I do completely free consultations in the
Oh,
office.
come on. Free consultations?
That's right.
You don't have time to
Well,
do
now
that.
all of a sudden he's got all the
Serious.
time in the world. You said the magic word.
Free consultations
Free.
for brain health. So folks can just go to healthybrainclub.com and there's a phone number.
Give all the websites again.
Healthybrainclub.com is where they can find us for a free consultation.
www.irvineclinical.com
And the support group,
Is-
neurological support group?
is going to be that is right now. Go to Healthy Brain Club for that. We're starting the website. We'll be starting our own CCA.
And what was Memorial Care and all that?
Memorial Care, Home
.org.
Health, and
That's right.
that's us. And
And,
Memorial
and when
Care
and when
physicians.
and when do you guys start the Dr. Iggy show?
Dr. Iggy Show, we put the promotion. The board just approved it. The CCA is our board, so we just approved it, and we're doing I'm project director, so we're making our presentation to the Channel 6 News Group and seeing if we can kick that off for maybe February.
Love to find out more about
That's
it.
awesome.
Love.
Yeah.
I've said.
Very excited.
I've been told there's phenomenal TV studio over in Laguna Woods that gets underutilized.
Yeah, what's
most
the
of time.
gentleman's name? He's been here before.
Been here once a long time ago.
John Noel.
Yep.
Cool guy.
Love to meet him and talk to him again because maybe there's some way we can help cross promote some of these things and do because we do audio, they do video. I think it's 2 different ways to tell the same story.
It's very important. I know this support group is, we try to hit all universal things that affect the brain. We talk about diet, all these things, but we also will sometimes we just had an October session on Parkinson's. December was on strokes. So many people come there who have had
Is
strokes.
this just for people in the community or people anywhere in Orange County can come?
Right now, anywhere in Orange County. We are meeting.
And how do they find out about the group? Like, is there?
Or the groups?
You can go on register right now. You can go onto the Healthy Brain Club and put and inquire about being on the email, and we'll put out email blasts. We're trying to get a newsletter together. 2018, we have a pretty good vision, so there's a lot of things in the works. But start at the Healthy Brain Club, and we'll go from there.
I'm going to add just one thing, and this is sort of a little bit of a new mantra, not necessarily a new mantra, but something that I kind of formalized as being 2018 to be more conscious of, is everybody out there, information is worthless if you don't share it.
Exactly.
Okay? Information is worthless if you don't share it. Don't be part of that hoarding personality and actually share this information, whatever it may be.
I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to win and they're going to lose.
The troll standing at the bridge over there looking for a toll, right?
Last man standing.
No, seriously, I mean, all of this information is useless, right? If you don't share it, and you have opportunities. We just went through Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. You're interacting with people, probably even in your own household of multi-generations, right? There's wisdom in the older people. Absorb that, but share this information, because the more people are aware of it, even if they change their lifestyle that is maybe unhealthy in the smallest amount, it has a really serious positive impact on their life and quality of life.
That's right.
Right? So I appreciate you guys both being here.
Thank you.
I think we could talk about this all day long.
Yeah.
Right? Recipes, I'm sure that there's some on the Facebook page. It could be actually exciting. Forget about what Paul said. The food can be exciting. It doesn't have to have meat and potatoes.
And what is
in
Louis
it.
Body? We brought it up. Somebody wanted to know what Louis Body is.
What is Louis Body?
What is Louis Body, this other group that you...
Lewy body dementia.
It's not the picture that's outside.
It is a form of dementia.
It's a form of dementia.
Lewy body dementia.
With that, it's a form of dementia. It is probably the second most common, right behind Alzheimer's.
Yep.
With that.
And yet it's not
What's
well
the-
known.
what
They
is-
don't...
what's the- just really quickly, what's the difference?
It is diagnosed by what is seen on a brain scan, and the presentations of it, the symptoms of it, is a little bit different than Alzheimer's. At least the initial symptoms. Sometimes it starts off with behavioral changes rather than just memory loss. Sometimes it starts off with agitation and other things of that sort. And so it's not very.
Well, I'm getting
heard of.
agitated. We don't
I
have
think
more time to
Parkinson's.
talk
Is it
about it.
associated with Parkinson's a lot? I know that's
There is a Parkinson's dementia as well.
Oh, okay.
And
My mother's had that. We
Yes.
never could figure out the connection, but she got dementia.
And if you notice somebody in your family or somebody that you know as a friend or something that's going through that, again, approach them rather than avoid the conversation as being too personal to get there.
Absolutely.
And actually, they can always ignore what you're telling them, but share with them some of these resources, share with them some of the websites that were shared today, and get that information out. It's never too late. You're never too old.
That's right.
And
That's
it's not normal to basically
key.
have
That's right.
neurological disorders and memory loss.
That's right.
do
Okay?
not blame
And
it
if
on
you-
aging.
Yeah, don't blame it on
I'm
aging.
just getting old.
And with
I'm
Parkinson's, there's big and loud therapies. There's Foxy with boxing. There's all these different things that you can do that can help with your speech, with your muscle tone. These are movement disorders, and there's little type of syndromes associated with it.
Smell, sound therapy. There's a lot of things that are very innovative that are happening, that are taking place. And I want to give a shout out to our friends at Alzheimer's. They are amazing group there. Jim, Patty, everybody there. They're just phenomenal people. They're very dedicated. We're all in this together. Get that information out. Share it with everybody that you know. Don't be a pain in the ass and share it. But share it, okay? You can talk about other stuff too. But I want to know that you talked about this stuff too, okay?
Thank you.
So thank you guys for being here.
you.
Thanks, everybody. We're kicking off Rad Life. You guys can come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
you
You
guys
have
being
been
here.
listening
Take
to
care.
the Rad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Rad Gantos, brought to you on the one and only OCTalkRadio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.
Imagine what it would feel like to lose everything. Your job, your home, your family, your dignity. This has happened to thousands of the men, women, veterans, and young adults we serve at Working Wardrobes. What do we do to help? We provide career development services, life skills workshops, job skills training. We provide the perfect interview outfit, and we get clients placed in jobs. Call Working Wardrobes, 714-210-2460. Donate, volunteer, invest, hire.